Good morning, everyone. As always, here at Sullivan Middle School, we look forward to the Memorial Day program here at our school. We look forward to it because it has become a very special part of our program. It is our opportunity as a school community to say to you how much we appreciate what you have done for our nation. And so this Memorial Day is no different from the rest, because I am seeing all the faces that I am accustomed to seeing. And I say welcome, and I look forward to seeing you immediately after this program downstairs in the reception area. Our students, on behalf of our students, I want to welcome you into our building. I hope you will feel at home, and if at any point in time you have a question or a concern, please, any one of our students will be ready to assist. Peace will come when people live in friendship side by side and cherish understanding more than hatred, greed, or pride. Peace will come when people see all people as the same, and no one has to live in fear, in ignorance, or shame. Peace will come when people who are needy can reach out for shelter, food, or love, and has none to do without. Peace will come when people learn to listen and to care about the rights and dignity of people everywhere. Peace will come when love and trust and kindness know rebirth. And on that day, all people will rejoice in peace on earth. Until that day comes, we continue to remember those who have striven for peace. Let us now have our South High students present the flag.
Present, arms. Order, arms. Post. Forward, mark.
We will remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance and the Star-Spangled Banner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We remain standing. Please be seated. And now, before we go into the body of our program, on behalf of Sullivan Middle School, I want to extend a welcome to those on our platform today. On our platform, we have Chaplain Brijo Coombs from the Worcester Baptist Church. We have, representing the superintendent, Dr. Magdalena Gagnes, the manager for curriculum and professional learning in the Worcester Public Schools. We have Mr. Sean Lavelle, Senior, Persian Gulf War veteran. We have Ms. Holly Hodgkin, who is here on behalf of Congressman James McGovern. We also have Mr. Edward O'Connor on behalf of the Worcester City Manager, Mr. John Manfredo for the Worcester School Committee, and Mr. Sean Rose, our City Councilor, on behalf of Mayor Petty. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being here. We at Sullivan, as I said, appreciate the opportunity to have this event here at our school, and we appreciate your taking the time to be with us. Thank you.
Morning, everybody. Would you join me in a moment of prayer? Heavenly Father, we pray that you would bless all of us present here today to memorialize those who lived and died to preserve liberty and freedom for all. And may God remember all those whose sacrifice gave this nation its greatness. May our memory of all those who served in the armed forces be an honorable one, full of thanksgiving to the Lord. And remember with much love and mercy those who died in the service of our country. Bless us as we honor them today. Amen.
Good morning. 3 years after the Civil War ended, on May 5, 1868, an organization comprised of Union veterans established Decoration Day as a time for the nation to decorate the graves of fallen soldiers with flowers. Major General John A. Logan declared that it would be observed on May 30th, when flowers would be in bloom across the country. After World War I, the day was expanded to honor those who have died in all American wars. In 1971, Congress passed an act to establish Decoration Day as a federal holiday, but under a new name, Memorial Day. This is the 47th year since Memorial Day became a federal holiday. It is the 150th year that flowers will be laid on the graves of deceased soldiers, soldiers that have died in the hope that no more will need to die. Going all the way back, our country has fought for freedom in the Revolutionary War, sovereignty in the War of 1812, unity in the Civil War, global security in World Wars I and II, and for peace in the Korean War, the Vietnam War, the Persian Gulf War, and now in the ongoing War on Terrorism. Throughout history, those who serve in the United States Armed Forces have taken up the good fight against those who have tried to burden our world with evil. They have given their lives so that we and others around the world can live the lives we desire, with freedom, hope, and joy. They have made the ultimate sacrifice as they faced ruthless oppressors. On Memorial Day, it is our duty not to mourn their deaths, but to honor their lives. These fallen soldiers are our real-life heroes. They fought to make our world a better place. Their acts were selfless ones. These people were prepared to give up their lives for the greater good, for the good of humanity as a whole. And when we see a man or woman in uniform, we should thank them for their service to our country. It is the least we can do. Thank you.
Good morning. Often, when walking down the road, we might see a gathering of people at a street corner. We might wonder what they are doing. We walk further and realize that they are hovering over a collection of candles, pictures, and flowers. That is when we realize that they are looking at a makeshift memorial, honoring the life of someone who died. All they can do is stand there and reflect on that person's life, perhaps a life that was lost too soon. We see memorials often in the world. They come in all shapes and sizes, from a small collection of mementos to a statue or maybe even a monument, honoring the lives of the heroes and trailblazers who came before us. Memorial Day is a day to honor the bravery and courage of Americans, of both the past and present, because a memorial tells the people of the modern generation a story of a person or event in history, so that the past will never be forgotten. While looking at memorials, we can learn from the powerful past of our evolving world. When we look at the good and bad times forever etched in history, we can learn from the many brave men and women who have fought selflessly for our country, the great men and women who put their lives on the line to save another, making the ultimate sacrifice. That is what Memorial Day is to me. It is more than a day off of school or a day to have a family barbecue. Memorial Day is a day to remember the soldiers who put themselves second and instead put our great country and preservation of the freedom we have first. On Memorial Day and every day, let us all remember the great Americans who have helped our country get to where it is today, the ones who have helped our country overcome its differences and helped it to become one united nation. We mustn't reflect on the past solely on Memorial Day, but we should make sure to remember the many powerful moments of history every day of our lives. Without those moments, our country would be very different than it is today. So remember to appreciate a memorial you might see, and think about the story that lies behind the flowers or the statue. Go further than what meets the eye, and appreciate a small piece of history, if it is only for a moment. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you for having me here today. I'm honored to be here with this panel of guests. And on behalf of the superintendent, I would like to thank Dr. Robertson for having me here today. And I would like to thank her assistant principals and her staff for having this program here today and for having the students remember Memorial Day in such a beautiful way. I would also like to thank all of the students for being here today and for this band and for the South High students being here for the posting of the colors. Thank you all. Thank you to all the veterans that are here this morning, and thank you for coming to show our students that your presence is so important. Thank you for serving our great nation. We thank you for your service not only today, but every day. We thank all the men and women who have served our country and have protected us each day. And we know that our freedom is not free. We are grateful for all of your sacrifices. And as students and staff in the Worcester Public Schools, we take steps each day to learn more about history and government in our classrooms. We work each day to show our students that the lessons of freedom, liberty, and equality are what should inspire us each day in our lives. Thank you all for being here, and I look forward to the rest of the program. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'd like to introduce you to our guest speaker today. Sean M. Lovely Sr. is a native of Worcester who grew up in the Webster Square section. He is a Worcester police officer and proud father of 4. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in August 1989 as a U.S. paratrooper with the 82nd Airborne Division through 1992. He was assigned to the Alpha Company, 1st Battalion, 325th Airborne Infantry Regiment in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Sean served in both Operation Desert Shield in Saudi Arabia and Operation Desert Storm in Iraq from August 1990 until March 1991. He served in combat as both an M16 rifleman and an M60 machine gunner. Sean is a bagpiper for the Worcester Pipes and Drums of Worcester, which he has been involved with for the past 20 years. He has volunteered his bagpiper services for many Memorial Day, Veterans Day, and other military events. He is a member of the Worcester Police Honor Guard, charter member and first president of the Greater Worcester Police Emerald Society, board member of Oak Hill Community Development Cooperation, and a board member of the Central Massachusetts Korean War Memorial. For the past 3 years, Mr. Lovely has hosted a citywide Halloween event in which 3,000 people attended this past year. His awards are numerous, including a Combat Infantry Badge, 82nd Airborne Division Combat Patch, Southwest Asia Service Medal with 2 Bronze Stars, Kuwait Liberation Medal, National Defense Service Medal, Army Service Ribbon, Army Expert Marksmanship Badge, as well as German Jump Wings. It's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for today, Sean M. Lovely.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to you, veterans, elected officials, faculty, and most importantly, you, the students of Sullivan Middle School. Thank you for allowing me to attend your Memorial Day service today. This is quite a unique event. Although many schools across Massachusetts take time to remember the sacrifices made, your school embodies the values of reflecting on the lives lost to allow us to remain free. The unfortunate reality is that diplomacy sometimes just doesn't work. The burden to resolve these issues falls upon the shoulders of the brave men and women who sacrifice themselves every day to protect the interests of this great country. Sometimes military personnel are sent to assist others in need of food and medical supplies. Others may protect the lives of those who actually don't even have a voice. In the end, all voluntarily take an oath to protect what the country deems necessary. When you leave school today, I ask you to pay attention to the 237 City of Worcester veteran squares that memorialize the sacrifices made by citizens of this community. Some were only a few years older than you today. All these veterans had given their life to protect future generations. These memorials are silent yet powerful reminders of what each veteran's selfless act of bravery was. It is their sacrifice and duty to their country we as a whole pay our utmost respect to. One particular veteran square that stands out to me is this, located just down the street at the intersection of Apricot and Main Street. This simple sign, piece of granite, and bronze memorial plaque speaks volumes of those who take time to read it. It documents the sacrifice made by Private Charles G. French. At the age of 20, Private French took part in one of the earliest battles of U.S. troops during World War I. On April 20th, 1918, this veteran was killed in action at the Battle of Seicheprey. He was a neighborhood resident that was assigned to a U.S. Army Field Artillery unit. The battle was a surprise attack on these American troops protecting a parcel of land in France. The German military was attempting to strike fear into the American troops who were not yet exposed to combat. At the end of this battle, the U.S. hailed this as a victory. It is estimated that Germany suffered more than 1,200 casualties and were actually forced to retreat. The United States also suffered a toll from this battle. We had lost 81 soldiers, 402 wounded, and 197 that were either missing in action or taken prisoner by the German army. Just stop to think of what an ordeal for Private French and his fellow soldiers. Such a heavy toll on many who were not yet exposed to the harsh realities that were found on the battlefield. Think of his family, his friends, who would never get a chance to speak with him or hold him in his arms. Private French placed his country first. It is that very sacrifice we honor this weekend. To think, 100 years later, we can still remember his selfless act upon the battlefield, which provides us the opportunity to gather today without fear or oppression. I would like to leave you today with a quote from our 32nd President of the United States, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, on his own reflection about Memorial Day, and I quote, "Those who have long enjoyed such privileges as we enjoy forget in time that men have died to win them. I personally ask you to remember those who gave their life for even those Americans not yet born." Thank you.
I'd first like to say thank you to Sullivan Middle School for inviting me here today to commemorate this important occasion. My name is Holly Hodgkins, and I'm here on behalf of Congressman Jim McGovern, who is sorry he couldn't attend today's event. It is such an honor for the Congressman and me to continue to be invited back each year on Memorial Day to pay respect to the brave men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice to serve our country. We truly appreciate all of the hard work and dedication of the faculty, staff, and students here at Sullivan Middle School to prepare today for today's observance of Memorial Day. I know it's not easy to put together programs like this, so thank you. This coming Monday, Memorial Day, our nation comes together. It is a very important time for remembrance and reflection. It is when our country honors all of the men and women who have died fighting for our country. Memorial Day is celebrated for those who have lost their lives fighting for this great nation, but I want to take a minute and salute the active duty service members and veterans who have given so much to preserve our great nation. Your service never goes unnoticed. I know you all work very hard to learn about the history of Memorial Day leading up to this program based on the great essays I hear each year. What many of you may not know is how hard our country and community work to help not only veterans who return home, but also the families of veterans who died in action or died as a result of their wounds of war. Congressman McGovern is a tireless advocate for veterans. I am fortunate enough to work with the Congressman on helping veterans and their families access the benefits they need and often are entitled to as a result of their honorable service. Congressman McGovern is always willing to provide any assistance he can in connecting veterans and their families with agencies like the Department of Veterans Affairs or their branch of service. If you ever feel your elected officials can help you, especially Congressman McGovern, I encourage you to reach out to his office and ask for help. Please remember to thank the brave service members who died to protect our freedoms, but if you have a parent, a grandparent, a neighbor, or anyone else that you know that is a veteran, make sure to thank them for their service, make a connection with them, and tell them you appreciate the sacrifices that they have made. We live in the greatest country in the world, and I'm thankful every day to call it home. I cannot imagine having a better job than having the opportunity to help veterans and their families each day. Thank you to all the veterans in the audience for your service.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of City Manager Augustus, he sends his regrets that he's not able to be here today. But thank you very much for having me, and thank you for putting on this program. To my fellow veterans and servicemen and women, I can't thank you enough for what you do. Without having you by my side, this job would never get done. To the families of those veterans and servicemen and women, without you, things would never be taken care of back home, and we would never be able to accomplish our mission. And last but not least, if there's any Gold Star families here in the audience today, we can't thank you enough for what you do and how you represent your family and represent the sacrifice of your loved one. I used to go to school here, believe it or not. It's been about 18 years since I've been in this building, and much of it has not changed to include this program. The band still sounds great. The students are still reading essays and readings of substantial value, and so I have to thank you for continuing on that tradition. I want to leave you with two things before I finish. I'd like to challenge each one of you at some point, either throughout this weekend or perhaps over the summer, to go to the Vietnam Memorial and take a look at some of the names. And then once you do that, go to the section of the memorial where there's letters. And I'd like you to take a moment to read, if possible, all of those letters. I think you'll find some very touching sentiments in those letters, and you'll definitely remember something written. The one I remember most is a gentleman writing about how hard it was in Vietnam, but that's okay, because once they get home, they're going to have better men back home because of what they're doing over in Vietnam and the sacrifice and the toughness that they've endured. The second thing I would like you to sort of challenge yourself with is ask yourself, if not me, then who? And it starts here, right? Not all of you are old enough to serve in the military, and so maybe you don't fully understand everything we're talking about. So when you walk outside today and school is over and you see a piece of trash and no one's picked it up, you need to ask yourself, if not me, then who? As you get older, you're going to be called upon to do something you're not sure that you're ready. That might be military service. That might be teaching a young student or mentoring a fellow classmate in college or high school. And maybe you're on the fence and you're not sure if you should do it, but then if you ask yourself, if not me, then who? And lastly, as you reach your adult years and you've maybe served in some capacity, whether that's military service or maybe you've taught or volunteered in your community, you have to pass on those traditions and those memories. And if nobody does that, then a sacrifice is lost in vain. And so when you have the opportunity to pass on that memory, that sacrifice, the story of that soldier, sailor, airman, or Marine, you need to ask yourself, if not me, then who? So thank you very much, everybody.
Before I get started, let's have a nice round of applause for our band. They were fantastic. And I look forward to hearing the 8th graders play next year with the South High Band. My name is John Monfredo, and I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me here today. And I bring greetings from the Worcester School Committee to all our veterans and their families and to the Sullivan Middle community. For many people, Memorial Day has come to mean the beginning of the summer. And I just heard it on the radio this morning. Memorial Day, the start of the summer. A time for picnic, barbecues, and a holiday to gather family and friends, which is also very nice. However, the happiness and freedom that we have are a product of the real cause for this holiday. Memorial Day is a time for us to remember that the American way of life is not cheap, but rather has been purchased by the lives and blood of so many who have sacrificed for us so we may have freedom. I'd like to share with you this poem entitled, The Veteran. To them we owe, happened today and in the past, sacrifice made for ours to last. Wives to widows, families torn, gave their lives, for them we mourn. Gone forever, souls are lost. Freedom comes with this cost. Enjoy the life they did preserve. Faith they suffered, did not deserve. On this day, lest we forget, to them we owe our life in debt. So on Monday, please take a moment to remember those brave men and women who fought and died to preserve peace for all of us. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Sean Rose. I'm here representing Mayor Joe Petty. He sends his regards. As Memorial Day approaches, I would like to encourage you all to take some time to reflect upon the 237 memorial squares at intersections and street corners across this city. These squares are named in honor of Worcester citizens who paid the ultimate sacrifice in service to our nation. Each memorial is unique and represent our community's chosen methods of remembrance. In some cases, the names recorded may be long forgotten, only to be remembered through these monuments, making it an important way to preserve our history and to commemorate that individual's sacrifice. Often our memorials will contain the names of families still living within our community, allowing these families to celebrate their own history as a smaller part of the bigger history of our city. As we evolve and as time passes, our memorials offer a unique insight into the history of an area or an era. Worcester's memorials are an important source of information for all of us in understanding the costs paid by past generations. Memorials are important because they act as historical touchstones. They link the past to the present and remind us to remember and respect the sacrifice of those who died, fought, participated, and those affected by conflict. Simply, they're a window into our past. Now, it's easy to drive by these memorials every day and not know the story behind them. And this Memorial Day, and every Memorial Day, cherish these monuments and appreciate the individuals who unselfishly gave in service to our great, great nation. Thank you.
As we are drawing to the close of our program, it has become a habit of mine to use this opportunity to talk to our students. Students, I've always described this as a relay race. These ladies and gentlemen sitting in the first 6 or so rows to your left and my right, they ran the first half of the race. They are reaching back to you to hand off the baton. Are you ready? I was so moved by the fact that one of our speakers walked these halls. The fact is that it makes us realize that each one of us here has a role to play. It is real. It is true. A few years from now, you are going to be standing here and carrying through on this Memorial Day service. And I want to use the phrase that was just used by Mr. O'Connor. If not me, then who? If not me, then who? Students, it is your turn to start looking forward to being the citizens that the United States of America needs at this very time. Citizens who understand their responsibility to be the shakers and the makers, whether it be in the spectacular way as president or mayor or governor, or in the very ordinary way of being a true citizen who looks after his or her neighbor. Whichever it is, let us remember, if not me, then who? We walked among the crosses where our fallen soldiers lay and listened to the bugle as taps began to play. The chaplain led a prayer. We stood with heads bowed low, and I thought of fallen comrades I had known so long ago. They came from every city across this fertile land that we might live in freedom. They lie here beneath the sand. I felt a little guilty. My sacrifice was small. I only lost a little time, but these men lost their all. Thanks for what you've given. No one can ask for more. May you rest with God in heaven from now through evermore. We are now going to be listening to our band as they do the hymns of Hymns to the Fallen.
ask that you join me now as we close in prayer. Father, your generosity grows with each passing day, and we are so thankful. We thank you for those who have led us so well in this program today. We have honored those who now enjoy your eternal embrace, and we ask your blessing on all that are present here. Especially, we seek your consolation for those who have lost loved ones in service to the country. May your grace be with them and with us now and forever. Bless us as we go about our day and grant us peace. Amen.
We will now stand to honor our deceased service members as Grace Kalinowski and Kate Nororian play taps. The words of taps say, "Day is done. Gone the sun from the lake, from the hills, from the sky. All is well. Safely rest. God is nigh. Fading light dims the sight, and a star gems the sky, gleaming bright from afar. Drawing nigh, falls the night." We remain standing for taps.
Present, arms. Order, arms. Post.
Our program is now over. Students, you will remain seated.